A week later, and the number of links that were needed to control the Iron Legion still bothered me. Jarvis controlled them, yes, but no matter how intelligent Jarvis was, it was still guided by Stark. If Stark wanted to stop being in charge of them, then we needed to upgrade them and make them independent. But how? He didn't want someone else controlling them, which I thought would be the easier answer. He wanted the Legion to be something else completely. The doors of the elevator opened while I was working, and I was expecting Stark to come out alone, but he brought company. I didn't know who he was, but he reminded me of a scared mouse. He carried his glasses close to his chest instead of wearing them, as if they gave him more confidence that way.
"Kira, this is Dr. Banner," Stark said. "He'll be helping us with our little project."
I nodded, recognizing the name. Bruce Banner was an amazing scientist, an expert on gamma radiation. He was also a member of the Avengers. He had helped during the Battle of New York. I had seen the footage. But he was a little different then.
"Well, wait. First you have to tell me what the project is, Tony,"
Banner replied. He didn't want to commit before hearing the idea. I smirked. Maybe Stark had already involved him in some other of his projects, and he hadn't appreciated the experience.
"Believe me, you want in,"
Stark assured him. He walked to the middle of the room.
"Jarvis, bring it up,"
he ordered, and a 3D image appeared. It resembled a computer screen with documents just floating around. "I didn't know it did that," I muttered.
"You didn't ask," Stark said.
Banner had already joined him in reading some pages that had the general idea of the Ultron project.
"This," Banner said. "This is great."
He looked at Stark.
"What is this?"
"This is our ticket to retirement," Stark said. We spent the next hour or so talking over the project. It didn't feel like work at all. We sat around throwing ideas at each other on how we could make Ultron a reality and fantasizing about the consequences. Banner seemed pleased with the concept.
To get this clear," he said, "this is only research."
I frowned.
"Only research,"
Stark agreed. I snapped my head towards him, and he gave me a side look as to shut me up. I scowled. This was more than research. It had to be.
"And we have to look into other options apart from AI," Banner added.
"Why?" I jumped. Half the reason I was so excited about the project was because of the possible AI that was going to come out of it. Such an experiment would be too interesting to just reject it already. The only things I knew of AI was that I had quickly learned during my time here. But I was excited to learn more, and I felt I would learn it quicker by doing something with it, instead of just reading papers. I wanted this project to be completely AI related.
"Because we have to think about the consequences of creating this type of artificial intelligence," he explained.
"The consequence is security," I said, confused. I thought that was a good thing. It's not like we're going to create Skynet.
"Sure," Stark said without minding me. "We'll look at other options."
I scowled, not happy about this decision. I had already looked at other options, and they were inexistent.
"If I agree to help," Banner continued, "I could only give it some hours each week."
"That's perfect," Stark said and pointed towards me.
"We have her for the rest of the time."
Banner looked at me, pitying me. "Boss pays well," I said, and he grinned.
"Okay,"
Banner said.
"Okay,"
Stark repeated. He clasped his hands together.
"Okay, we'll see you tomorrow."
They got up and I rolled my chair towards the closest computer.
"What are you doing?"
Stark asked. He and Banner had stopped before the door.
"Work?"
I said slowly.
"It's 5 p.m. You have training."
I blinked. Is that going to become a daily thing?
"Yes."
he said as if it were obvious. It helps with discipline. You know, that's what they said in juvie, I commented. How well do you think it worked? Go. I came to the conclusion that Owen wanted to kill me. No one should attempt to run as much as that man wanted me to. We moved on to weight training, and starting with the 1 pound weights felt so unempowering. I would have felt ashamed if I wasn't so focused on regaining my breath. I was sitting on the floor. Owen had gone to bring me a water bottle, which I was really looking forward to so I could actually swallow. Hey! I looked up and saw Natasha Romanoff staring at me from the ring, beckoning me over. She was smirking, and I didn't think that was a good sign for me. Barton climbed down from the ring and sat down on one of the benches, shaking his head and chuckling to himself. It made me think they had a secret plan. Fuck, I whispered and walked over to her. She lifted the elastic ropes from one of the sides of the ring and signaled me to get in. I climbed up and stood in front of her, waiting for her to punch me in the face and add some company to my lonely purple eye. But she didn't move. Yes? I asked impatiently. She smiled again. That eye's looking better, she said. She sounded genuine, but I knew it wasn't, for the obvious reason that I looked like shit. Do you know how to fight? She asked. I frowned, gesturing to my face that the very evident evidence that I really didn't. What do you think? Touché, she said, grinning, and walked to the center. Come on, I'll teach you. I rose an eyebrow. Why? She stood still and tilted her head, smirking. Why not? I frowned but followed her. She passed me some boxing gloves and a head protector. Why do I get the feeling I'm actually gonna need these? I asked while I put the protector on. She spent about half an hour watching me punch the air. Owen came back shortly after we started, but he stayed in the sidelines, enjoying the show and chatting with Barton. They seemed really chummy, as if they had been friends for a long time. Romanoff didn't talk much. She would grin when I did something acceptable or give me short tips when I didn't. Okay, she said. Now try to hit me. Excuse me? Hit me, she insisted. I'm not gonna hit you. Why not? She asked, amused. 'Cause, I said. I don't want to die? She smirked. Come on, try to hit me. I scowled and got into a fighting stance, like she had told me to do. I threw a shy punch towards her, and she just patted it away. She stared at me with a glare, silently telling me to do better. I breathed deep and threw another one, harder, faster. She moved to one side, avoiding it. Good. Again. I licked my lips and did it again. She grabbed my wrist, managed to climb on me, wrapped her legs around my torso, making me lose my balance and somehow throwing me to the ground. I hit the floor with a thump. That made the air leave my body. What the fuck? I wheezed. She smirked and offered me a hand to get up. Remaining on the floor seemed like the better option. If we tried that again, she would kill me. I grabbed her hand and pushed myself up. How did you do that? She was about to answer, but Jarvis interrupted. A policeman is here for Miss Atwood. Romanoff looked at me, but I shrugged. I had no idea what it could be. What if something had happened to Leslie? The question flew freely around my head and made my heart beat a little faster. Bring him up, Romanoff said. I took off the gloves and head protection and jumped out of the ring. The Black Widow was close behind me. Shortly, Evelyn, the receptionist that seemed to believe we were now best friends, came in with the policeman following her. You have to be fucking kidding me, I said. Atwood! Lieutenant Clemens acknowledged me. That bastard had been like a guardian dog while I was in juvie. Not the good kind either. He was like a freaking bloodhound, always alert to anything we did, but at the same time, completely unaware. He always thought I was the villain of every story, even if I was the victim. All because I had messed around with the door system during the first month. I had only done it to lock one of the other kids up, who had sworn to turn my insides out. Had I attempted to run away while I was at it? Yeah, but who wouldn't? From then on, Clemens started to hate me. He was the one who had revoked my computer privileges. "What the fuck are you doing here?" I asked dryly. Romanoff took a step in front of me to talk to the lieutenant. Maybe it was better if she managed the interaction. "What can we do for you, officer?" she asked. "This morning, 6 kids came into the ER," he said. "Most of them with broken bones, bloody noses. One of them is in an induced coma. Ugly business." "So what?" I demanded. "Upon questioning, they mentioned you," he said, almost pleased with himself. "One of them said that a friend of yours beat them up pretty badly." Rick Butcher and his guys? That was impossible. Our little welcome home party had been a week ago. Had the devil gone for another round? No. This was wrong. Daredevil wouldn't beat them up that badly. They should be sore, not in the ER. "Don't know what you're talking about, man," I said. "Sure you don't. I'm here to take you in," he said, beckoning me over with a smug flick of his hand. "Aren't there more officers to harass kids in all New York? Or do you just enjoy it too much?" I asked him, annoyed. He faked a smile and repeated the gesture with his hand while taking out the cuffs. "You know the drill, Atwood." I clenched my jaw. "Fuck me," I whispered. I turned around slowly, while putting my hands in the air. Wait, someone slurred, not understanding. I turned around. Romanoff was the one speaking, getting between me and Clemens, and she looked genuinely confused. "Where's the warrant?" she asked. "What?" Clemens asked. "You need a warrant for that," she said firmly. "No warrant, no arrest. You're not taking her." I dropped my arms and turned around to face them. At that moment, I was in love. Clemens pressed his lips together, thinking, and nodded. "Okay," he said, and he looked at me. "This is not over, Atwood." I was going to tell him to fuck off, but Natasha threw me a glance as if to will me to shut my mouth. I complied and just nodded at him. When he left, everybody turned to me. "Did you do it?" Barton asked. I shook my head. "You know who could have?" he asked. "No," I said. "I don't." But the name was still swimming around my head. What if the devil of Hell's Kitchen had come back to finish what he did last week? "Tony will find someone to manage it," Barton said. "Don't worry about it." "Yeah," I trailed off. But what if? When I arrived home, I wanted to go directly to the rooftop. I had to talk to him. But it was way too early for the nocturnal devil to be up and about. I figured out what my other priorities were. Food was very high up the list, as always. I grabbed a pizza and made it in the oven. Those were possibly the longest 20 minutes of my life. I climbed to the rooftop and started to munch on the pizza while watching the sunset on the horizon. I liked New York for small moments like this. If I had to be honest with myself, New York was a pretty horrible city. Too much pollution, too many people, most of them morons, and too much noise. Not to talk about the crime rate. I lived in Hell's Kitchen. No nice place is called like that. But up here, on the top of my building, watching how the sky went from grayish blue to pink and orange, and then seeing how the darkness invaded the air, and millions of little spots of light appeared in the buildings. The view was so amazing, It would make anyone fall in love with any city, even New York. The pizza had turned cold by the time the night set in. Was that going to keep me from eating the last pieces? No. I stood up with a piece in my hand and looked to find what I was looking for. I grinned when I spotted the abandoned pipe, with which I used to hit things out of the building. It used to be my homemade baseball training. I grabbed it and went over to the scaffolding that some workers had left there years ago, when they decided that repairing my building wasn't really that important. I devoured the piece of pizza and started hitting the metal with the pipe as hard and making as much noise as I could. When I was out of breath, I returned to the last piece of pizza that waited for me and sat down waiting for my guy to appear. Maybe, when summoning a vigilante, I was supposed to leave him that last piece. I ended up deciding against it and swallowed it.
"This is not how people usually get my attention," I heard behind me.
I turned around to find the sneaky guy. I had a hunch that it would work. I had been feeling observed for a while now, as if someone were looking out for me. I figured it was him. "I don't have your phone," I said. I thought I heard him smirk, but it was a little too dark, and contrary to him, I didn't have night vision, which is how I supposed he saw in the night.
"What do you want?"
he asked. "Did you beat up those guys?" He tilted his head a little. He reminded me of a pigeon doing that.
"You're gonna have to be a little more specific," he said.
"The guys that beat me up," I urged. "Did you go back to finish them?"
"No,"
he said, a little outraged. "Someone did," I said. "The police think it was me."
"Did you?"
"Why does everyone keep asking me that?" I said, frustrated. "It's not like I could learn martial arts overnight." He rose his hand slightly as if to calm me. I breathed deep. "If they charge me with that, forget juvie. They'll send me to prison."
"I'll look into it, okay?"
he reassured me.
"You're not going to jail."
I nodded. "Thanks."
"Meanwhile, keep out of trouble," he told me.
I nodded again, rolling my eyes. There was no need of reminding me that.
"I'll find you when I know something,"
he said as he walked away. He left me alone on that rooftop, leaving as quietly as he had come.